Um, Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for still being here and being a part of Observe Now Digital Bharat Summit. A lot of interesting conversations. Well, that was, I hope that's over now. Yeah. All right. So, a lot of interesting conversations have happened, and a lot of interesting conversations yet ahead for us. Living in this day and age where your entire life is summarized in this little phone, I think it's a blessing in so many manners. So, I flew in from Delhi yesterday, and I had a lot of things to do, including pay for my ticket, pay for my hotels, take care of the hotel arrangement for this event, take care of my team, and if you look at the expense sheet, imagining this is the most premium property in Lucknow, you can all take a guess of how much the cost would be. Now, if I had to tell you how much money, cash, I have on me right now and throughout my trip from home to Lucknow, I think it would be barely 500 rupees. That's it. And I'm still in the most comfortable form sitting here with all of you and having this discussion with these esteemed leaders. And that is the financial inclusion that India, and that is the financial diversity that India has witnessed and experienced at this point in time. Thank you, Airtel, for helping us put together this panel here. So now we are going to be talking about with the esteemed dignitaries on how financial inclusion will be taking forward in India and what is the way forward. Let's start with the role of fintechs here. How do you really feel any kind of fintech innovations, sir, are going to take a center stage? How is India going to evolve with fintech associations, and how is the digital banking sector going to change with that? Over to you, sir.
Yep. So I hope you can hear me. Yeah. Thanks, Tanya, for the question. I just want to add one thing that you may be carrying some amount of cash. I don't carry my wallet at all, and I also came in from Delhi. So I think that's the level of change which has happened
Absolutely.
to all of us. Talking about digital and financial inclusion, and I'll just reflect on some of the learnings we've had, some of the work which we've done as Airtel Payments Bank in really driving digital and financial inclusion, and use some of those lessons to talk about what fintechs can do to really drive financial inclusion. The bank started almost 7.5 years back. I think the big role which all of us need to play is to really make sure that, one, there is very, very strong infrastructure and reach in rural. India has 640,000 villages in the country. UP itself has 107,000 villages, but the number of bank branches and ATMs are very, very few. For example, there seems to be more than 3 lakh villages in the country where the nearest bank branch is more than 10 kilometers away. Now that really is a key problem or a key challenge to solve for if we really have to drive digital and financial inclusion. So what Airtel Payments Bank has done over the last 7.5 years is to set up a very strong distribution system. We've got BC agents in more than 450,000 villages in the country. Specifically in UP, we've got BC agents in more than 90,000 villages in UP, which really helps make sure that when the customer comes into a BC agent, he or she or they are able to open a bank account, do cash withdrawal, cash deposit, fund transfer, bill payments, and anything which you would like to do in your typical bank branch. So I think that's the first and possibly the most critical aspect in terms of driving financial inclusion. The second key aspect is to build a very, very strong level of trust with consumers. Consumers would sort of work with you if they trust you, and specifically in the area of finance, in the area of banking, you would typically keep your money with someone or some organization whom you trust. And hence trust plays a very, very vital role, in making sure that we actually include a lot more consumers on the digital and financial inclusion space. The third aspect really, which is critical, is changing consumer behavior and education. A lot of consumers, especially in rural, given the lack of access, are used to doing things in a particular manner. And I think we as fintechs, new age banks, our key job is to ensure that we are able to work with consumers, get them to do things in a different way, which really helps them improve their livelihood. So to me, Tanya, I would say that these are the three key jobs which Airtel Payments Bank has done over the last 7.5 years. As I said, we have got our presence in more than 90,000 villages in UP out of the 107,000 villages. We've got more than 85 million monthly transacting users on our platform. And all of that means that there are more than 1 billion transactions we process. And that's really the result of these three key learnings, which I think every organization should imbibe.
Ganesh sir, I think the trust aspect you have definitely cracked very soon, and I think India is also very receptive. The fact that the Indian demographic right now is also very young in digital payments and any form of quick, instant relief with digitization, I think is something that the country is receptive to. Coming to the government side of it, Sameer sir, how do you feel that there can be a collaboration with newer age fintechs with traditional banks, and do you see any challenges? Opportunities are immense, of course, Sir just spoke about it, but can we talk about challenges that you may see in terms of better collaboration and reaching out to more number of villages across India?
Yeah, good evening and thank you for having me here. On behalf of Government of UP, I welcome you all in the city of Nawabs, Lucknow. I think almost all of us are familiar with this word family, this financial inclusion right now. Am I sure? Everybody knows it, financial inclusion.
Yes.
So what exactly it is? When you go by the definition given by the World Bank, it says that access to financial products and services to individuals and organizations and firms. And what kind of financial products and services? They should be standardized, they should be trustworthy, they should be sustainable, and they should be available all the time. So that is the mantra behind the financial inclusion. And you also must be pleased to know that it is one of the goal of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. This financial inclusion is one of them. I think this is one of the biggest exercise started by RBI in India to include a larger population which was underserved or unserved from the financial products and markets to come into the formal banking system and all. You know that UP is also targeting to become a $1 trillion economy by 2027. And right now we are holding the second position as far as our GDP size is concerned. And we also enjoy being the largest budget size in the whole country. So how it is going to be possible? By bringing more and more population into formal banking system, and that is only through digital innovation and financial inclusion. So you know, when financial inclusion we talk about, it is not only about opening a bank account. It is also access to money, easy credit, and access to services, and those services must be reliable. So when you had been asking me what are the challenges to Uttar Pradesh, our population is the biggest challenge for us. And the population, it is of mixed kind. Most of our population, that is rural population, where we lack infrastructure, where we lack IT facilities, where we lack these kind of IT architecture, and digital and financial literacy shortfall is also there. But we have been bridging it. So if you allow me to share certain data with you, just in the span of 10 years, we had opened more than 28 crore accounts, saving bank accounts only, and right now we have more than 32 crore accounts. And almost 93% of them are associated with one kind of another digital services. Maybe that is through RuPay card or some digital payment system or UPI kind of system, all of that. If you go only by the number of Jan Dhan account, we are standing at number 1 position in the country with 9.50 crore account, and almost 55% of those accounts belong to women. And only 7% of those accounts are inactive account. The average holding is also increasing around 4,500. So UP is marching ahead, and it has been possible only because of the digital banking and financial inclusion thing. He has been rightly saying that it is not possible for commercial banks to open their branches all over the state because it's not cost effective for them. Opening a brick and mortar branch is probably is not an idea which most of the commercial banks are ready to take now. And I am happy to share you the number, more than 3 lakh banking outlets we have right now in UP. And out of them, only 20,000 are brick and mortar branches, and rest of the part is being covered by Bank Mitra and Bank Sakhi and ATMs. So as if you go by the definition of the RBI, that banking outlet, these banking Sakhis and banking Mitra, they are providing banking facilities at the doorstep 5 days a week, 8 hours. And if you go by their financial transaction limits, some of they are doing wonderful job with a transaction of over 1 crore in a year. And they are all being sponsored by different banks and all. So when you go by that number, you itself see that the financial expansion and the knowledge gaining and the circulation of money, it is taking at a faster pace. And ultimately, it is moving our economy. Now, if you go by the challenges, I don't think, we may highlight 2 terms here, digital literacy and financial literacy. We all are very conversant with the users of this Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp and all. So I do not think digital literacy must be a problem. It is the only thing is that how easily you have to associate it with the financial literacy. Now most of the mobile apps, most of this peer-to-peer lending platforms, most of the loan apps, they have been designed in such a way that it's simply click of the button, you have access to financial products and market and easy loan and all. So it is gaining popularity. We are also trying to develop a few of the hamlets and few of the villages on the model that all the financial transactions must be only digital, through digital mode. I mean, almost all the shopkeepers and everybody who are there for the day-to-day life, cash transactions, it should be replaced by UPI transaction or digital transaction by any other mode. So we do not see actually a challenge. However, interestingly, if you compare with the numbers, last year in 2022 and 23, we had recorded 1,174 crore digital transaction numbers. It has come down to 893 crore. I don't know why. We are going to find out the reason because of that. But why this number has come down? So what I think about, suppose there is a tea seller and his tea is very popular in the whole town, and he has placed a QR code on his shop, and everybody who comes to buy a tea there, and he is supposed to pay by scanning that QR code. Now the single account, that tea seller might be having a single account, but the number of digital transactions may be in hundreds and thousands in a single day. So now if you go by that number, you will see that the actual count is increasing, but per account, digital transaction amount is not increasing. That number is not increasing. So we have to go by that data actually, that how many accounts, saving bank accounts or the current bank accounts who have digital access, they are actually using this UPI and digital transaction facility or not. So that number is not being reflected by NPCI. The another number which is not being reflected by NPCI is that there is total number of transactions, its count is there on their website, but what is the volume actually? How many lakh crores had been transacted by using these medium? That is also not there. So we are trying to work out on that. And using this platform and this digital transaction, I must share this thing with you that we stand at number 2 position as far as the DBT transaction is concerned. After Haryana with a score of 85%, we are standing at the 2nd position. So we do not see actually as a challenge. The only thing is that how fast the society is going to adopt the technological changes and how banks are ready to input new capital for this technology updation, technology transfer, and to shift themselves from the traditional banking to digital banking.
Thank you so much, sir. And that's right. I think we also need to look at how ready the banks are at the moment. Ganesh sir, a quick follow-up to that for you would be the most important aspect of people placing trust within financial services like yours is the aspect of privacy and security. How are you ensuring that that's happening for the more vulnerable population? And with that, how are you going to expand your footprint?
Yeah. Tanya, a very, very relevant question, especially after COVID. I think the sensitivity and the concern around frauds and security has actually gone up many, many fold. And I don't think it is relevant only for the
It's touched everyone in some manner.
Yeah, I don't think, I was just going to say that. I don't think it's only about the vulnerable society. It's actually about people sitting here, all of us here, ourselves.
Okay, quick show of hands. Can we do, how many of you have gotten those Jamtara calls or links, if we can choose this?
I think most of us would have.
I think literally half people here.
The other half may not have heard the question properly.
I mean, I think 99%. So yes, please.
True. So, this is, as I said, I think it's very, very critical, for all of us, to be concerned and to do stuff around it. The way in which we've tried to solve it is actually in 3 parts, Tanya. One, which I think a lot of organizations are doing, is to make sure that there is a lot of investment being done in communication to customers. So as and when a customer is actually, making a transaction, when he or she is on a phone call, maybe that's an alert to tell the customer saying, listen, be careful. Are you sharing your OTP on phone? Are you sharing your credit card details and so on? I think that's one piece which I know a lot of organizations are doing. I think, and we've done a lot of that ourselves. And in some cases, we actually even stop the transaction from happening if we know that the customer is actually on a phone call, because a large number of scams tend to happen when there's a fraudster who calls me, in the example you gave, and says that I've won lottery and stuff like that. And when a transaction is happening, we actually, in a lot of cases, we actually stop the transaction from happening, tell the customer, please drop the call and reinitiate. I think that's one action. The second thing, and that's something which we are proud of, really is using technology and product innovation. Now, a few quarters back, we launched a product called SafePay, which actually is definitely the only bank in the country, maybe one of the few in the world, to actually collaborate with a telco and have a third factor authentication, which ensures that the transaction is a success only if I on my phone, on my SIM, on my account is using it. So if, for example, someone else has tried to hack into the account using my OTP and MPIN and so on and so forth, he or she won't be able to do that transaction. I think that's one aspect of it. The second is what we've also done is, we've launched, in this we launched a few weeks back, a concept called face match. So for example, we all know that there are a large number of mules and conduit accounts which happen in the industry where someone else, tries to operate on my account. What we've done is to make sure that once in a while we ask the customer when he or she is doing a transaction, to take a smiley and take a selfie actually, and take a photograph. We compare this with the photograph we took when the customer was getting onboarded. And we allow the transaction to go through only if the two match. And if it doesn't, then we prevent the
Such
transaction.
nuanced technology and idea.
Yeah, so this is the second aspect which I think we're pretty proud of, on some of the innovations we've done. The third is really to use AI/ML in a very, very big way. And again, here it is about being preventive. So for example, if I do know that there's a customer who is in a small village of population 500, and all of a sudden the customer is actually trying to initiate a transaction on an e-commerce website, we know the chances of that is very remote. I won't rule that out because of penetration, but we know it's remote. So what we do is we actually ensure that the transaction doesn't go through. We reach out to the customer, ask for an additional factor of authentication, and if the customer says, yes, I have actually tried that, then we allow the transaction to go through. So we use AI/ML in a very big way to try
The
and
predictive
see how
analysis, I'm sure also you're doing with the consumers, like my spending pattern you would understand versus sir's spending pattern. So that would also.
Yeah, so we've got approximately 200 odd data points about every customer. We use that, using AI/ML to create algorithms to actually know whether it's actually Ganesh who's trying to make this transaction or there's someone else who's trying to impersonate. So Tanya, I would say these are three things which I think we do, and I do think that as and when a lot more, if not all, financial institutions embrace these three aspects, I think we'll be able to make digital and financial transactions very, very secure.
So please. Thank you, Ganesh sir. I think you're absolutely right. But there is another aspect to it which I think Sameer sir you will have to take care of, is that as an industry, I think they're doing their best bit. But one aspect that needs to piece together here in the conversation is the support from the government in terms of educating when we are talking about the more vulnerable, the more rural population of India. So keeping in mind what sir has just said, the aspects, the nuanced technologies and the ideas they're using to prevent any kind of fraud possible, how will you, as the government representative, how do you feel you can educate the people and help the journey get more digital for them?
Yeah, that's a very apt and right question. And there is a system developed by RBI of SLBC, State Level Banking Coordination Committee. And in every state there is a lead bank. Like in UP, it is Bank of Baroda who has the responsibility of being the SLBC in charge. So they keep on doing these financial literacy things and camps and educational camps in schools and colleges and at village level also. Further, our mouthpieces are there, these Bank Mitra and Bank Sakhis. Through them, we try to educate people. Third thing is that we have adopted technology by seeding Aadhaar with the account number, and that's why almost 98% of our accounts are now Aadhaar seeded. Fourth thing is that any digital transfer that is through DBT only. So now it is mandatory for the people to open their bank account, to check their mobile number, to get their mobile registered with the banking system, to receive the OTP, to enter the OTP. So almost all of them are now very much familiar with this. Now, if you take example of any scheme, see it in Kisan Man Dhan Yojana or the transfer of seed subsidy or the transfer of educational loan subsidy or anything, that is only through the DBT and through the mobile phone. So it is there. The thing is that, the most important thing is that, now, what do we want actually? A faceless banking or a banking with a face? So that is a problem, because in most of the conditions, if we are keeping our money with somebody, we would like to know that person also. And now there is nobody behind the screen. I mean, we are only dealing with the screen and nobody knows who is handling me and who is going to answer me, who is going to solve my problem. So the trust issue, along with the speed and accuracy, it is very important and very pertinent in these financial institutions kind of thing. And most of the people, they are worried about this. Then there are certain charges which are, I mean, you may say hidden charges that people don't know about. Then finally, at the end of the day, they get a message that your account has been debited with such and such. As far as he had been mentioning mule account, that is actually a big problem, because I think it is one of the root cause for all the cyber frauds and cyber crimes. I mean, I also had gone through a cyber crime this year itself, and that was through mule accounts. So I conducted a meeting with the bankers, and then we came to know that there's only, debit free facility is only at the first level. If the money gets transferred across the accounts, and then ultimately it is beyond the border of the country. You are not in a position to freeze it and to get it back. So banks also have to think in this line that how they are going to solve the problem of mule account and the dummy account, and why at the first place you are allowing anybody else to use anyone else's account. And this financial literacy, government itself has been taking a lot of steps with the help of the bank. RBI had been coming regularly to educate people, and there are multiple programs and advertisement and pamphlets and everything is going on there. Thing is that traditionally we people had been very, very conscious about whenever there is a question of handling the money, how they have to handle the money. So they are conscious, but they need to be more familiar with the new technology, and the security issue is the most important thing. Because if your money is not secured, the ultimate, the trust which is going to be lost, that will be of the financial institutions of the bank. No matter it is Airtel Payment Bank, no matter it is some other bank, the trust issue is going to be the most important one.
Absolutely. And in the interest of time, I'll close this conversation as a consumer for both of you. And I think, sir, trust it's the key if there is to be a switch from a traditional bank to any kind of other financial institution. So more reassuring messages, more calls when you make a bigger transaction than usual, checking that if Tanya, you have made this transaction, or Mr. ABC has made this transaction, definitely is helpful, and reassuring that we know that our money is in safe, secure hands. And from the government side as well, more encouragement. The more we see the government endorsing us trying to put our money in more financial institutions rather than just sticking to traditional banks, I think it's a sweet spot that the industry and the governments have to hit for each and everyone, no matter how rural the population is or how urban the population is. But I think together you have to come forward and hit that sweet spot where we literally become the digital Bharat that everyone is dreaming of. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for this conversation. Thank you so much to all the esteemed audience who have been so patient in listening to us. The conversation is still not over. We've got a couple of sessions, and please do share your feedback with us. Thank you.